Chapter 17. Louis Locke kept a tidy little first-floor apartment down by where construction was breaking ground on what they were calling Grand Hope Park. Oakley was right. He wasn't frequenting his usual spots, as his external mailbox was hulking out from everything jammed into it. I took his mail and handed it to Marcella before reminding her for the third time to wait outside. I took to my knee, and it groaned and clicked at me as I pulled out my lockpick wallet. I fiddled around with the mechanism. It was taking a little longer than usual, which I put down to having an audience. But after a few extra moments, the lock gave way. I got to my feet, opened the door, and placed my right hand at the seat of my pants, where my pistol was resting. Just in case. There was a smell to the room. Nothing was dead. It was stale. No fresh air in the place for a few days. Water resting in the sinkholes a little too long without being flushed out. I checked his messages. 22 of them. I let them play as I searched the rooms. No signs of disturbance, no signs of an altercation. The top drawer of his dresser was empty. He packed light. Too light to be going on the lam. Whatever came up, it came up short notice. I moved his armchair, no sign of blood. Rolling back his rug reinforced that, as the flooring was clean. Dusty, but clean. A familiar voice appeared on his machine as I removed the ribbon from his typewriter. If it was new enough, I might be able to get a few sentences off it. "Louis, it's Rochelle McGuire Sullivan. I ran into Bruce's new girl at the deli, and she told me you were writing something about the wrestling business. If you need any access, give me a call. You still have my number, right? I know my dad would love to help in any way, and of course it would be great to maybe get some input. You know how the business is. Anyway, give me a call and we can do lunch. It'll be like the old days. Bye." I popped open the lid on his machine and pocketed the cassette. I knew she was digging. I'm not a moron, but I wanted a female take on the matter. There was a framed photo hanging on Louis's living room wall, by the window. It was him and, based on the family chin, his father in front of a cabin somewhere that looked like it was, in Northern California. I made a note on the back of a takeaway receipt to check for his family members living on the left-hand side of the country, and left, easing the door back into place and locking up. "Well, does Mrs. Kowalski have to worry about DUNS?" asked Marcella. "What's DUNS?" "Dead upstairs neighbor syndrome," she clarified. "Kowalski's ceiling is safe. There's no sign of him, but I need to run down any local relatives he might have." "Cool. Let's go," she said. "No, I'm dropping you home where you can rest up and put the finishing touches to that little girl you're brewing. I'm going to go cash in a favor with a local PD and see if I can get enough information for Bruce Oakley so I can get paid properly." Having dropped Marcella off at her apartment, I drove to Olympic, where I grabbed 2 coffees and a box of glazed ones to soften him up. Some cliches were cliches for a reason, and the boys and girls at Santa Monica Precinct held true to a few of them. Chris accepted them, though I wasn't too sure whether he ever partook. He stood 3 inches shorter than me, but we had gym-buddied together a few times, and there didn't look to be much powdered sugar in his daily routine. He took a sip of his coffee and waited for the ask. It was bad sport to refuse an owed favor twice in a row. I did my best to reassure him it wasn't anything he could get burnt on. "There's nothing major, don't worry. I just need a next of kin, ex-wife, blood relative, something for a guy called Louis Locke." "You got a DOB or social for the guy?" he asked. "I've his address and whatever is found in here," I replied, handing him 3 weeks of my Mark's mail. He handed the donuts off to a colleague who was passing him on the way into the building. "Give me a few hours, okay?" said Chris. I left him to it and made quick time into the city. I'd placed a crib on hold at a high-end baby boutique. I dropped another couple of $100 just walking to the register. They had a mobile that looked real adorable, but it would look even cuter when I swapped out the plush unicorns hanging from it for little wrestling figurines I'd picked up in Japan for reasons I couldn't explain at the time. I'd finished loading the baby gear into the car when my pager went off. It had started to make me jump more the closer we got to the due date, but it was the police rather than a 911 message. I dropped a dime at a payphone by the boat and got the address for Marjorie Nichols, the sister of my missing writer. I checked my watch. It was getting late. I was about to put off calling on the Nichols residence until I remembered what the following day was. Shit. I got back in the Cougar and took the 405 to the valley and was on her doorstep inside an hour. The Nichols residence was a single-story house with terracotta roof tiles and a neat little front yard. Behind the large white shutter sat an ordered garage which led into a decent-sized kitchen living room space and at least 3 bedrooms. I knocked on the door and bet I could see through the home to their backyard and an above-ground pool. Mrs. Nichols answered. She had a round face, a thick ginger mop of hair, and eyes that seemed to be dulled from experience. The gold chain sat between us, linking door to frame. Marjorie Nichols? My name's Jack Gecko. I'm a private detective out of the city. Is your brother, Louis Locke? Yeah, that's him. What's happened? Marjorie asked. I tried smiling with my teeth, but it only seemed to put her more on edge. Nothing, I hope. I've been retained by his publisher, Bruce Oakley. He's having trouble getting in contact with him, and I was asked to perform a welfare check. He doesn't live here, she said. I know. I called at his residence near downtown. Is that his only abode? Can I see some ID? I handed over my credentials and complimented her on taking precautions before disclosing anything. That played into her comfort zone, as she took a step back from the front door, dropped the chain, and welcomed me in for a beer. I caught a glimpse of a sizable backyard, no pool though. I popped the lid off and took a sip. We don't really see a lot of Louis. Christmas sometimes. You said he's missing? Not missing, just not where he should be. What's the difference? Marjorie asked. Police report, mainly. Is there anywhere else he might be? I saw a photo of a cabin someplace north. Oh yeah, that's Gurneville, up near Russian River. No, that got sold out from under us when Dad got sick. Shame. Louis ever mention what he's working on? No, but like I said, we don't see a lot of him. I set the rest of my beer on the kitchen worktop, handed her one of my cards, accompanied by the obligatory, if you think of anything, and left. I sat in my car and took another look at the domesticity I'd been running from. There was enough land separating each of the identical houses on the street that you didn't have to put up with anyone you didn't want to. Maybe something like this was all it would take to convince Marcella I was serious about her, and us about our family. I needed some serious income for something like this to become a reality. I'd sold my health to wrestling a long time ago. Outside of the boat and the Cougar, I hadn't much left to flog. Another time, perhaps. I tried to push the idea from my mind, but as I caught traffic heading back across the hills, I caught a glimpse of a dark green Chevy several cars back. He was still on me.